All right, today I'm going to remove and reinstall a tubeless tire on my Trek Domane SL7 rear wheel. We're going to deflate the tire, remove it, remove all the old sealant, clean up the tire in the rim, put new sealant in there, pump it back up, and get it all ready to go for the season. I don't know how much sealant is in here or whether it's dried up or not, so I want to make sure that it is all set to go. Okay, so first thing, we're going to let all the air out of the tire. Okay, so once all the air is out, we're going to need to break the seal. Push the tire away from the rim on both sides. Break the seal on the other side. Okay, the tire is no longer attached to the rim. Get one tire lever. Oh, there's a good bit of sealant in here still, so you'll see. So pull one bit of tire out and then get the tire lever. I'm going to slide that around and it's going to loosen up the tire. All right, so now you want to be careful at this point because you're going to see a good bit of sealant in there. So I'm going to get the rest of the tire off, being careful not to make a mess. Get the rest of the tire off by just pulling the other side off of the rim. It's a good amount of sealant that's in one of these tires, so that's why it does a really good job at plugging any holes that you encounter when you're riding. So let's get this out of there. So I'm just using a bunch of paper towels here to get all the sealant out of there. You don't really have to get all of it, just get enough so it's not going to make a big mess for you. Now we're just going to go around the outside edge of the tire. We want to wipe this bead off on the outside because this is what seals up against the inside of the rim. We just want to kind of squeeze that bead, go around and wipe that off, get that nice and clean, and we want to do that on both sides, all the way around. Then you want to get your rim, you want to do the same thing, clean off all that sealant. Okay, and get both sides. Got a little messy right here, we want to clean that up. It's a little bit sticky, but it'll clean up nice. All right, so next, I'm gonna remove the valve. This valve will come out. I'm gonna remove that so that I can clean up all the goop around it. There's a rubber washer in there, make sure that's nice and clean and not gonna possibly leak. Just loosen this nut right here. And as you can kind of see, this spins, so you need to hold on to that. The valve will come out. I'm just going to take this washer off. I'm going to clean up all the goop off of it and put it back on again. Just clean that washer up. Take the valve, just clean it up. This flat surface where the washer is going to go is what you want nice and clean. Put the washer back on. All right, good to go there. The other thing I want to show you about this valve is it's actually two pieces. When you get everything back together, we're going to put fluid in through this valve. But to do that, you unscrew this middle part and then you have a much bigger opening there to force the fluid through. You'll need this it's just a little plastic tool. This came with my sealant kit. On the rim where that valve goes, you want this flat surface here to be clean. All right, so we're going to put this back in. Screw that back on there like such. I like to try and keep this valve this way rather than this way. I don't think it matters at all. Just gives you a little more room to get your tire edges in there. Get that finger tight, and now we're ready to put the tire back on. I've cleaned up the bead of the tire all the way around. This is the surface right here on the edge here that actually seals against the inside of the rim. Make sure all the surfaces are nice and clean through here. First thing we want to do is look on the tire for an arrow. Typically tires have an arrow that shows you which direction the wheel is going to rotate. So right here it says direction and it points this way. And just make sure I got the arrow pointing in the same direction as the wheel's going to turn. I'm going to start where the valve is and just set that bead right down there and there, and then I'm just going to work my way around to get the one bead back in there. And you can usually just force that in with your fingers. Okay, so we got the one bead in there. I'm going to go back to the valve. Look in there, so you got the bead on that side, so I'm just going to put the other bead on this side, just set it down in there. and then kind of work my way around and get that other bead in there. You might be able to get that on with your fingers. Looks like this one's gonna come on. Ah, yeah, got it in there. If not, you can use the tire lever to get it back in there. So, okay, so now we have the tire sitting loosely on the rim. Let me double check that that arrow is pointing in the right direction. Okay, we do have the arrow right here pointing in the correct direction. The next thing we need to do is fill this with air. Now, it's not gonna take air very well until there's a good seal. So the best way to get air into a tubeless tire is to do it quickly. So if you have a compressor, that's going to work good. If you have a CO2 cartridge, that may work. I have not done that yet. I found the best way is to get a pump. This is called a flash charger, a flash charging pump, or a pump that's got your canister here. So what this is for is we're going to fill this canister with a bunch of air, and then we're going to release it all at once into the tire. That's going to inflate this tire in like 3 seconds. It's really awesome. Best thing I ever bought for a tubeless tire setup. I'll put links below where you can get these at Amazon. So we want to fill the tank. So over here, we want to put this on charge. And now, as I pump it up, it's just going to fill this tank full of air. So we want to get a lot of pressure in there. I'm going to fill this to about 120, 130 PSI. All right, so we got about 130 PSI in this tank. Now I'm just going to get the tire, which is completely no pressure. Make sure this valve is open. Press this securely onto the valve. All right, now for the magic. Now I'm just going to move this to release the pressure, and it's going to inflate this tire instantly. Just watch how this works. All right, tire is now inflated. It's sealed and inflated all the way around. Looks like we got about 50 PSI in here right now. I'll take this off. All the air comes out of the pressure tank. It's the most awesome thing. Now the tire is sealed all the way around. It's holding air, and now we're almost done. We have one more step, and that is we need to put sealant inside this tire. The purpose of what we just did was to get the edges to seal against the rim. Now we can let the air out of the tire, and we can put sealant into the tire. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to remove the top half of the valve with this tool here. Make sure the whole valve doesn't spin on you. If it does, you just need to tighten this up. All right, once it's loose, you can use your fingers. All right, put that aside, and now we're going to prepare to put sealant in here. So we want to flip it over. So I went online and I bought just a highly rated sealant. This is KOM Cycling Tubeless Sealant. It came with an injector. You definitely need that. That's a way to inject it into your tire. What we want to do is fill this with about 45 milliliters of sealant. It says 2 to 4 ounces on here, but I did check with Trek, and for my tire size, which is 32, they call for about 45 milliliters. So I will put information down in the description below as to how much you might need for your tire. All right, so just to fix the tubing, and we're going to pull about 45 milliliters out. So now I've got 45 milliliters in the syringe. I would highly recommend lots of paper towels here just in case. The first time I did this, I made one hell of a mess. The key here is to go slowly. If you go too fast, it's going to come out and get all over the place. Keeping an eye on it, make sure it doesn't overflow. Push all the sealant into the tire. Oh, that went beautifully. Wipe up any excess. Don't squeeze the tire because it's going to force some of that sealant out. Okay, next you want to take your little valve insert, screw it back in all the way. Your valve starts turning, hold on to the bottom of the valve so it doesn't turn. You get that in there nice and snug. Again, not super tight. All right, once that's snug, close your valve. Once the fluid's in there, we just want to rotate the tire, get that sealant all around in there. With the valve at the top, pump up the tire to your desired pressure. I usually run about 50 PSI. And now that everything's sealed, I'm just gonna slosh that sealant around so it gets all over the inside of the rim, kind of gets all over everything. In case there's any slow leaks, it'll seal those up. And lastly, just go around, check to make sure there's no sealant coming out. If there is, then you have a little bit of air pressure leaking, but the sealant is probably going to seal that up. So just wipe around the outside of the rim. All right, so that's it. That's how you replace the sealant and install and remove a tubeless tire. If you like this video, please hit like below, please subscribe, check out the links in the description below for all the items that we used here today, and I hope this helped you out. If this did help you out, please leave a comment below and let me know, and thanks for watching.